Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Beverly Hills View. Because of his many ties to our city, I asked artist Derek Boshier to be a guest today. He was born and raised in England, attended Yeovil School of Art, and graduated from the Royal College of Art, where he studied with my friends David Hockney, Alan Jones, and Ron Kitaj. Boshier, Jones, Hockney, Kitaj, along with Peter Blake and Joe Tilson, were all painters who were noted as pioneers of the British pop art movement. Derek is a Guggenheim Fellow and an honorary fellow at the Royal College. His work is collected by the Tate, the V&A, MoMA New York, the Pompidou Center, the MFA in Houston, and LACMA, among many other prestigious institutions. Utilizing his artistic bent, Derek worked with The Clash and David Bowie, which opened his horizons and led to an invitation to teach at the University of Houston. I should say the rest is history, but there's so much more. His films, photography, books, posters, record covers, we'll try to cover it all today, but let's hope we do. Right, Derek?
Let's go.
Let's go, or welcome. So you went to undergraduate art school, which means you meant to be an artist, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, you know, the different ways that people become artists. I mean, some people said, I was drawing when I was 3.
Exactly.
Yeah. But the point about that is every child draws when they're 3. I don't know why artists should jump on that. Mine was totally the opposite. I left school at 16. I came from a very working class background. My father was a janitor, caretaker, in a posh girls' school.
Really? And you were in Portsmouth?
No, I was at that time. I was in a place called Sherborne in Dorset, a very old medieval town, and I left school basically to help my parents financially. And the only person that said anything to me was the art master, and he said, "Boshier," he said, "very bad idea to leave school at 16. What are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to become a butcher." And he said, "What, a butcher?" And I said, "Well, yes." I said, "My best friend Don, his father owns a butcher's shop," and he said, "Give me a job." So he said, "Oh," he said, "have you ever thought of doing art?" And I said, "What's art?" And he says, "What you do on Thursday afternoons?" And I said, "Oh, I like that." So he said, "Well, I better meet your parents, and there's places called art colleges," and he prepared a portfolio for me, and I got into art college. And
so did you get into the Royal College then, or the other art college?
No, it was a very, very small art school in a farming district in Somerset. And I did 4 years there.
You did?
Yeah, and I loved it. In the first 2 weeks after going to art school, I thought, this is it. First time in my life. I mean, I was a very good track athlete. I was a.
So you could have gone into sports.
I might have gone into sports, but then and then when I left my high school and went to art school, I never ran again, except jogging now and then.
Is that right?
Never ran again.
Do you still jog?
I was school champion for 220 yards, 440 yards, 880 yards, 1 mile and 5 mile. But I ran everything.
By the time you were 16,
That's
right?
when I was 16, yeah. I was a big track champion.
So you spent 4 years at this small art college, probably learning a lot.
Oh, basic stuff. I just wrote to my tutor there, and I just thanked him for starting my career.
You mean recently?
Yeah, yesterday, in fact. He's 92 years old.
Oh, how great.
And he was head of something called the Elan School of Art in Auckland, New Zealand. And I just got a letter from him, and I was just replying, and I just wanted to thank him for all he did.
That's so great. He's probably so happy to have heard from you.
Well,
but how did you get to the Royal Academy then? Here you were in the Royal College.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
There is a Royal Academy, Royal College.
Royal College.
Basically, it was at that time of, one of the most sort of prestigious and interesting things to an undergraduate to continue their career as a graduate. And it might be interesting to tell you, so I applied through my tutor who now lives in New Zealand, and he said, you should apply for the Royal College. So I said, oh, you think I ever get in? He said, anyway, just a quick interesting story. I'll keep it as short as I can. The interview process was very interesting. To get into the Royal College at that time, you had to submit about 8 paintings, and then you had to submit 3 sketchbooks, works on paper, including life drawing, and it was very strict.
A big portfolio.
A very large portfolio sent out by train, and then so the Royal College saw it, and then that was from the, I don't know how many hundreds of people applied, that was got down to what, 70 people or something, and then you went for the interview. And the interview was very specific. The first day of the interview, everyone that was being interviewed in the painting school, you had to go to the life drawing room and spend the whole day life drawing for the new model.
Oh, you actually had to work?
You had to work as part of the interview.
So did everyone do this?
Every single person had to do it.
So all the names that I mentioned that you were in school with,
I'll tell you a little bit later. Then the next day was the big day, the interview. You know, there was 8 members of faculty, and you stood there, and all your work was beside you. Anyway, I did the interview, and I thought, well, I think it was all right. Went back to the hotel, and when I got to the hotel, there were 2 guys in the lobby at the hotel, and one of them looked at me and he said, "Hey, didn't I see you? Weren't you? Are you going for an interview at the Royal College?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Me too." I said, "Yeah, tomorrow's the big day." He said, "Yeah. Do you think we'll get in?"
Oh, how cute.
And it was David Hockney.
It was?
Yes.
It was so cute. He recognized you?
Well, I then recognized him because you were in that life drawing room with all these people.
So did all those people get in?
No. Oh, no.
So you were like really hand chosen?
Yeah, it was good. We were lucky. And
So did you make friends there, or were people like David at the hotel? You started knowing them before?
Quite interestingly, a little thing about the British pop art movement, it's different from the American. There's one aspect that's not talked about until recently. The reason I was staying in a hotel is because you had to. If you go to a Royal College, it's a 2-day interview. You have to stay overnight if you lived in the provinces. And of course, all of those British pop art people were mainly working class, as David was.
So they came from...
And we came from outside. David came from Bradford.
Right.
I came from Somerset. Peter Phillips came from Birmingham. So there were things. And of course, one of the only ones that wasn't was the great woman pop artist, Pauline Botti, who now is only really being recognized.
I don't know her work, and you said she passed early in her career.
She died age 28.
So was she in school with you?
She was 1 year ahead of us, in fact.
Oh, she was.
But she was in quite a well-known cult film called Pop Goes the Easel, made by British television producer director Ken Russell.
So were you making film at the Royal College?
No, I didn't start making film.
Oh, did they make film? Was there a film department?
Who was one of the first students in the film department? Ridley Scott.
You're kidding.
No, really, we knew Ridley.
I didn't realize. I kept thinking it was just artists at the Royal College.
No, the Royal College
artwork.
No, Royal College is very, very wide, then and now. A brilliant fashion department.
Right.
Full and tough in,
Did Zandra go there?
Zandra went there for textiles, the Royal College.
Oh, right.
Ridley Scott was there for film, and Ridley Scott was in the first year of film because there was a graphic design department, which he was in at first. And then all of a sudden they set up a film department, so Ridley apparently said, "Oh, I'd like to do that." And of course, that's how he got into film.
Were you in the graphic arts department?
I was in the painting department.
You were in painting, but it seems like your work turned out to be more graphic.
A lot of graphics in it, yeah. Like a lot of artists, work over a wide range. As I say, I worked with David Hockney and I worked with The Clash, and one of the reasons.
But The Clash is music, right?
Yeah, and David, but yeah. And one reason I did that is I made it made my work reach a wider audience in the
That's
art
what
world.
I was thinking.
And
So
this is a record cover I designed for David Bowie. It's called...
were you in school then?
Oh no, this was later. This was late '79.
Okay.
This was.
Well, let's see that.
Do you want to see it now
show
or
it
later?
to the camera.
Yeah.
So it's just like that with postcard on the bottom?
Yeah.
And that was 79?
79.
And what was David Bowie doing then?
Well, he was actually, Lodger was the last of 3 records made, what's called David Bowie's trilogy that he made in Berlin. When he went to live in Berlin, he made 3.
So how did you know him? At school?
Okay. I curated the Arts Council had, and I still think have, a project in which they ask practicing artists to become a curator.
Oh.
And I, to cut a long story short, I did a show in at the Hayward Gallery in London. I curated a show, took a year to do it, and it was called Lives, Lives, and it was subtitled Artists Who Use Other People as the Subject Matter of Their Art.
That's fabulous.
So
not portraits, but just
no,
subject
no
matter.
self-portraits, no landscape, no abstract art, and no installation, no performance artists who used themselves. So it was people who looked out, and that was it. And in it, I put in various people I selected. David, of course, was in it, and Kitaj was in it. And then there was press photographers in it. There was.
Oh, it was a big.
It was. I was trying to do a show to combine what was then high art and low art.
I see.
So I included a photographer called Duffy, who worked a lot with Bowie, and who I think was the best 60s photographer. Anyway, to cut a long story short, he contacted me and he said, "Oh, Derek," he said, "I've got to know you well." He said, I've got a friend and I think you'd really get on." And the way he phrased it, I thought it was a female. I thought he was setting me up for a blind date. And he said, "Come to the studio and I introduce you to." So I thought, when I went there, and of course I went, and it was not a blind date. It was David Bowie,
which was pretty great.
Oh, not bad.
But was he just starting then anyway, right?
No, David'd been going.
Oh, he was very
70s.
well known.
Yeah,
He just didn't tell you.
Well, he was. Yeah.
Correct me, because I said the Royal Academy.
Yeah.
Is that also a school?
There is a Royal Academy schools. There is, of course, in London, the Royal Academy,
which is the
which
museum.
is the big museum.
Right.
But
okay.
it also has a school attached to it. But the Royal College of Art is a separate college, actually formed, strangely enough, by Queen Victoria's husband, who set it up as a design school. So, and then it went on, and you know.
I see. Okay, I kept confusing that, and I'm sorry that I said that. But the Royal College is the college to go to. There's other art schools too.
Oh no, there are plenty. There's several. I mean, Royal College of Art, the Slade School of Art,
Slade, right?
Royal Academy, yeah.
Okay.
No, Royal College is one of. But having said that about Royal College, for the last 6 years, the Royal College of Art has been voted the best art college in the world.
Well, we're glad that you're here with us.
I tell you, a survivor.
So, did you also do covers for Clash then? Did David Bowie work into Clash, or was it the other way around?
The other way around came because the leader, the lead singer of the Clash is called Joe Strummer, who's since died, quite young, unfortunately.
Right.
But I was one of his tutors in his first year art college.
Oh.
So I got to know Joe quite well.
And he was quite well known.
Oh, not at that time, no.
Oh, no?
No, quite the reverse, in fact, if I could tell you a quick story. Joe used to sit in my class playing a wooden guitar, singing Blowing in the Wind. He used to sing Bob Dylan songs. But because, and he also said to myself and everyone else, "Hey man," he used to say man a lot, "Hey man, call me Woody." "Yeah, I want to be called Woody." Now, why did he want to be called Woody? He wanted to be called Woody for the same reason as Bob Dylan, which was Woody Guthrie.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
The great American
Right,
folk singer,
right.
socialized.
Right.
Anyway, so that was how I met him. And then, so he knew of me. And then another ex-student rang me up, who was a friend of Joe, who actually went out with one of the members of the Clash herself. And she rang me up, and her name was Caroline Kuhn, a very interesting painter herself. And she said, "Oh, you met Joe?" I said, "Oh, yeah, Woody. Oh, yeah, Joe. He's
Woody."
He's, you know. So I said, "Yeah," and I didn't tell her how I met him. I was walking down Oxford Street by myself one evening, and who should be coming towards me but Woody?
Uh-oh.
But now he wasn't Woody. He was all dressed in black with his Doc Martens on him.
Really great.
Yeah, and his fans behind him. And I went up to him and I said, "Woody." And he said, and I remember it was by a shoe shop. And he said, "Oh, I'm not called Woody now." I said, "I know not. That was a joke.
I'm not poor
Joe, I know your songs. I know I love the Clash. I love all your songs." And so then Caroline Kuhn rang me and she said, "Well, I'm ringing because Joe Strummer said, would you like to work for him? Would you like to design the Clash's second songbook?" Now, you have to put this into perspective. MTV didn't come into existence until 1981. So this was 79. So what pop groups used to do was they publish songbooks, all their lyrics, 100 photographs of the artist and all the stuff. And yeah, they asked me to do that.
So were you doing album covers and books and all that? That was it.
Out of the blue.
So I thought that just because you had this wide group of friends or people that you were hanging out with, that Houston, America, heard about you and invited you to come to Houston and teach.
Now, Houston was another story.
But let's get to the United States.
Okay, here we come. So I was teaching at the Royal College at the time.
You were?
79 at the time. And some other faculty member said to me, "Derek, you always go to America, but you always just go to New York, and then you sometimes you only go for the most of it is a month, and I used to go for 2 to 3 weeks. Well, you should go to America and teach." And I said, "Well, I don't want a full-time job." And they said, "No, in America," and now it happens in England, they have things called sabbaticals. So that, I know I did some lectures at Rutgers University in New Jersey, and you're not allowed to teach more than 5 years. You have to take half a term, half a year. Anyway, basically, to cut a long story short, I thought, that'd be a good idea. Go and teach for a semester in America. That'll be 16 weeks. That's more interesting. So I looked up all the jobs that were going. And New York, I don't want to go to New York, I go to all the time. I'd been to LA once, and which I'll tell you a story of driving from LA to New Orleans with David.
Had David already been here in LA? Yeah, Hockney was already here.
He was already here. So I came here in 1980, and I applied for a job at university, and they were looking for someone to go and teach at the University of Houston in Texas for 1 semester to teach printmaking and photography and painting. And so I applied, and then I had a letter back from the university which said, "We are only just joking, but it doesn't say much for your academic skills because your application arrived one month after the deadline."
Oh, you're kidding!
And on the very day that
that they were choosing,
that they chose the person for the job. But anyway, the point about it is they invited me back to do a lecture, and 4 months later they said, "Come back for a lecture." And there was another job going for a semester, and my lecture was my interview apparently.
Well, we didn't talk much about you taught painting at that time, and we didn't talk much about your work and the scale. I mean, we talked about books and record covers, which are small, but we didn't talk about the scale and if you had a studio where you were working. I want to show some of the imagery from your work in the 60s, 70s, 80s. We have 5 paintings we're going to show on the screen. And will you talk about it, Kay, as the first one?
Oh, yes. This was a painting from 1961. You know, pop art takes from popular culture.
Right.
So, you know, before David and I and other people at Royal College went to Royal College, you know, when you go to a graduate program, you're starting a new life. Basically, it was a new city, it was a new life. We got into a prestigious art college, and we wanted to kind of, you know, we all of us had very academic training.
So this is what they say, you embraced the iconography of British and American mass culture. This is how you were embracing it. So it was Kellogg's? The
Kellogg's cornflakes.
But you know, David used Thai food tea.
That's right. We were all using those things.
Okay.
Because we started to use images from not from academic backgrounds. We were interested in boys, girls, music, cinema.
Yeah.
And so that's where we drew all our stuff from.
And it was putting it on the canvas. What is this year?
This is the 1970s. It was 2 years before Watergate, actually. And I heard someone talking about a shrink who said, drawing lines around things is a sign of, what does it say? Sign of madness? Is that what
So did you start putting words in your painting? How big is this painting?
No, it's not a painting. It's a drawing.
It's
black
a drawing.
and white drawing. I did a series of about 10 of these.
I see.
drawings.
Okay, and the first one?
And it's Richard Nixon, if you... I could do one now about Trump, actually.
Yeah. So the first one was K. How big was that?
Oh, that was 5 foot by 4 foot.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a painting.
This one?
This is one from the 80s. I had always been associated with falling figures. I'd always used it in pop art. You haven't shown, but I used the falling figure. I was interested in William Blake, and so I took from him the idea of the falling human figure as a symbol of frailty.
Did you use those words in any of those paintings?
Not
or
those
drawings?
words, but
No.
I painted them.
Okay.
And then
How big is this?
this is again a drawing. It's a black and white ink drawing, only this size.
Okay.
And it's from the 80s when I was living in Texas.
Okay. The next one?
This is called The Kiss.
Oh, that's that looks like a painting.
That's a painting, and it was when, you know, over the years I've taken as source material from so many things, and this is from cinema. And I think I was going to do, I think it was pre-Google, so it was the 82 or something. So I was looking at film stills for The Kiss, and finally I made The Kiss up myself, I thought.
And how big is it?
This is about 5 foot by 3 foot.
I'm just showing the difference in the way you work and different size. And then the next one?
Oh, this is
the cell phone.
This is 2002 or 2024, and we talked earlier about Pauline Botti. She's, for some reason, she's not quite appearing on the right. She is on the right there. You've only got a detail, but the person on the right. Yeah, she's on the right, her half face.
I see.
And the picture is called, just to fill you in, the person I talked to earlier, Pauline Botti, female British pop artist, died tragically aged 28, who's now getting her just coverage of her work. And I did this painting, and it's called Pauline Goes Digital for Pauline Botti.
But way after she'd passed.
Well, 20 years.
Yeah.
And I know that she'd be doing, this is about 12 foot across by
so you
6 foot.
So do you have a big studio?
Yeah.
You live here in LA now. Do you have a big studio?
Yeah,
And
Silver Lake.
In Silver Lake. So you can make big paintings, and then what about drawings? You do it in the same studio?
I'm just about to have a drawing show here at Night Gallery in Los Angeles, opening on May 16th. And as you're talking about sizes, by big coincidence, I'm showing drawings that are literally this size, 8 by 5 inches, plus 4 8-foot-long horizontal drawings.
So it's like, drawings that are 8 feet.
Drawings.
So it's all black and white.
It's all black and white. And because also black and white is the show I just did in London.
I'm going to talk about that when we come back from the break.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a break so you can all go out for a minute and then come back. We'll be right back, and we'll talk to Derek Boshier about his work in London and about what he's doing here.
Congrats on paying off all those student loans.
Finally, right?
I'm kind of living paycheck to paycheck right now.
Well, have you tried saving?
Bill collectors, they're the worst. Am I right?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Which planet are we living on? Right here.
What do you think it would be like to teach? Chances are, you have no idea.
Everybody look up.
Teachers today are breaking down obstacles, finding innovative ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places, and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable. That's what it's like to teach.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Beverly Hills View. We're talking to artist Derek Boshier, who was born in England but lives in LA. He's very good friends of our Beverly Hills friends here, like Hockney and Ed Ruscha, and the collectors who have his work. But we're going to talk about his book, some of his films, and the last show that he just did in London, which was huge and a big success. So, Derek, welcome back. Let's talk about your book.
This book was published 4 years ago. You know, every artist likes nice to have a book published.
Exactly. What's in it?
Well, you know, it's funny because actually you learn a lot because someone does. The book was edited by a very good a cultural historian called Paul Gorman. And I'm very, not just vanity, but he did, I think, you know, for me, he did a very good job. He covered everything.
How long does it take to do something like that? Because it's so heavy.
Yeah, I can't really.
Look at the back. The back has the clash that we were talking about earlier.
The back has the clash.
And the front, and then show the front because the front is great.
has Richard Nixon. And the book is called Rethink Reentry. And it's called that because I actually bumped into Brian Ferry, a singer, at some opening or something, and I knew something about him, and I've always liked his songs, and I saw he was surrounded by paparazzi, and all of a sudden he was walking by himself, and I thought, now's your chance, Derek. So I went up to him and I said, Brian, and he looked at me and I said, Derek Boshier. And he said, Derek. He said, I named an album, one of my first albums after one of your paintings.
You're kidding. He lived in San Francisco, didn't he? I think he lived in
He lived in London, and since he's a superstar, he was all over the place.
Yeah.
So my book is called Rethink Reentry.
And that is that was the cover? That was his album?
It's a very similar title. It was slightly different, but,
it was.
He said he based it.
So what's in the book?
Well, the book's really, what I did when someone said, you know, they were going to do a book, Paul Gorman, and he said, do you have any, pleasures? What do you think? And I said, do you know what I would really like? And he did it. And I got 7 different writers to write about 7 different periods.
I think that's fabulous.
Pop art,
Right.
60s, 70s, 80s,
Very important.
90s, film. One person, she writes about the film, only the film, Pop Goes the Easel, which was the Ken Russell film I mentioned earlier, which has, this is it, which has Pauline Boty, Peter Blake, the sort of grandfather
So
of
it has photographs, drawings,
It's photographs,
paintings,
drawings, paintings, and
essays by several different people.
and yes, and it starts off with this very academic work, which what I was trained for as an undergraduate.
Oh.
So we could look at that. That's a drawing I did from life, because in those days, David and I and everyone carried sketchbooks about.
Do you still do that?
No, I have notebooks, but my sketchbook now is my iPad.
Oh, you use that. So
iPad.
you've gone totally electronic.
Oh, because I make my movies from my iPad. I shoot my movies on the iPad. So.
We're going to talk about your movies, but let's start with the show that was at the gallery in London in November. I was there. October, November, December. What was the name of the gallery?
The name of the gallery is called Gazzelli Art House.
And we have some photographs. We have some JPEGs. We have some pictures that'll be on the screen.
Okay.
And about 4 or 5 of them. So if you can talk about them quickly, we'll show them.
Sure.
And they're all large, right?
Yeah, they're large. They're they're at least 5 foot and 6 foot.
Okay. This first one.
This is called The Snow Queen and Her Yo-Yo. So I better explain these pictures. Now, any artist in the art world who's starting a new series. Okay, I've got an exhibition coming up that everyone says, what am I going to do?
Right.
Well, I want to continue what I was doing before, or I want to go back to something, or I want to continue what I did for my last show, but I want to take it slightly different alley, or I want to do something totally different.
Or a new theme.
Or a new theme. I'm a narrative artist, so I'm going to work on narrative themes. So I'm thinking, what should I do? And I thought, well, I've done a lot. All my paintings connected with pop art are quite colourful. And I've done a lot of work with, I've done portraits of David Bowie. I did a portrait of him as the Elephant Man. And I've done, after he died, I did a couple of paintings that were homages to him. And actually, I could tell you one great David Bowie story to which I did a painting. I came across an article about David that I'd never read. I'm surprised I'd never seen it. And it's David talking about his life when he was in high school and how unhappy he was.
David Bowie.
David Bowie, this is. And he was very unhappy because he had trouble at school. He had trouble with his parents. It was a lot of things wrong with him. At school, David was left-handed, and they forced him to write right-handed. And he said the thing that changed his life was reading Jack Kerouac's On the Road.
Oh, wow.
He said as soon as he read that, he thought, I don't have to be conventional. And he said, I went out, bought a guitar, and started painting. Interesting story, as a beginning story. So in the show in London, I did a painting, and that was a year before. I did a painting called David Bowie, Jack Kerouac, and David Bowie.
Oh, I see.
And I took 2 of David's personas and put Jack Kerouac in the painting.
So the painting we just saw was the Snow Queen.
Yeah. So the painting you just saw, or maybe the next one.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
Next one. And I'll go back to talking about.
Yeah, this one. What is this one?
This is called Dedicated Followers of Fashion.
Oh.
And it was a #1 title song by a 60s group called The Kinks.
Oh, I didn't realize you were so connected to music and,
I've always
art
been sort of.
and fashion and but you used red in this and most of them were black and white, as you said.
Well, as I said, an artist starting a new series. What am I going to do? And I decided to use less color, and then I thought, no, I'll use just black and white. And then when I thought I'll use black and white, I thought, maybe I'll go even further. I'll set all the subjects either in the snow or at night.
Oh, great.
So that's how black and white came about.
I got it.
And then I did introduce color. And so that's what my last show was
And the
called,
next one?
Night and Snow. Yeah.
This is color, though.
Yeah. This is rock, Music City, I think.
Yeah.
Funny enough, again, my experience as a painter and as an artist is the same as so many artists. There's certain things we're all the same about. So I'm working on a series of paintings.
Okay,
And I'm
next.
thinking, what's next?
Oh.
No, I'll tell you something about
okay.
that one.
All right,
Can we go back to that one?
Go back.
Can we go back to the rock and roll? So that one, I'm thinking, I'm in my studio, I got a big blank canvas, what am I going to do? And I look around and I see my set, a stage set that I designed for David Bowie, because also
we're still there.
I have
Oh,
some
good.
stage sets. So I looked at the stage set, and one of the central figures on the stage set that I designed for David was this singer. And I thought, wow, let's do that as a painting. So that's how the
Great.
painting
Yeah,
came
it's
about.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Next. Sorry. Oh, here we have a little blue.
This is called The Beautiful Game, which is another name for soccer.
Okay.
And I'm
For soccer.
I'm a great soccer fan.
Okay.
So this is in the snow.
Okay.
Again.
Next.
Yeah, this is, so I said that night and snow would be my settings, but my subject matter was fashion, soccer,
Right.
video games, religion, and mythology. So this painting is called Snow, the Video Gamers. So the video gamers.
Oh, right. Yes, I remember looking up close
yeah.
at that and seeing them. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this painting might be in, I've got a show coming up in New York in April 2021 at Garth Greenan Gallery. And Garth actually bought this painting, and I think that is what led to me doing the show with him.
And on the set right now, we have, this was the catalog to the show.
For the London show,
And it looks like another great book. I haven't looked at it, but that was it. You talked about a show coming up in New York, but I know you're also working on an exhibit here with Leslie Jones from LACMA.
Yes. Leslie Jones, curator of prints and drawings, is curating a show of mine, not at LACMA, but hopefully will tour.
Oh, that's
He's touring
interesting,
California
right.
museums.
Right.
And her work she's chosen is my work only related to Los Angeles and California.
She is a terrific curator. She
Very good.
did some wonderful shows with Ed Moses at LACMA.
Yeah, she did a marvelous show of surrealist drawings at LACMA.
She did that too.
Brilliant show.
We want to talk about your filmmaking very quickly. We're running out of time. So you want to just tell me what films you've been making? Because you're in film festivals.
Yes, right.
And I think, is this what I have? International Film Festival.
Now, that's not my film, but it's a film made about me.
About
a
you.
documentary, and it's having its world premiere at the Rotterdam International Film Festival in about 2 weeks' time.
So what are your films then that
My
you make?
films, well, probably just best to explain my last film, which okay, my last film is called, it's 40 minutes long, and it's for me a slight diversion because it's a documentary, slightly documentary. It's a documentary. 40 minutes long is about, it's called I Never Knew the World Was So Beautiful. And it's called that because the film is about a woman who was blind at birth and didn't see for the first time. She didn't gain sight until she was 30 years old. And in the 70s, I heard an interview by her. She's now 72, by the way, but in the 70s she was 30 years old, and I heard an interview and I thought, this is amazing. So I thought, well, I'm going to do something with this. Either going to do painting, film, or something. And it's taken me 40 years to get round to it.
But did you know her?
No. What happened? I have a very good friend, a filmmaker called Zara Hayes, and I approached the BBC to ask how I could use the interview that I recorded in '76. And they said, oh, go to Getty Images. So I thought, oh, good. I go to Getty Images, and they said, no problem, Derek. 10-minute film, that's easy. That'll be $50 a second.
A second?
So it would have cost me $31,000 just for the soundtrack. So I thought, bugger that. And so I talked to my friend Sarah, the filmmaker, and she said, I basically said, is she still alive? And I said, yes. She said, go and interview her.
Oh,
so I
very good.
went to Nottingham in England last year with my partner Thelma, and we interviewed her.
Well, I think that's a great way to end our interview.
Good.
Because you did a great interview and you were a great interview today. Thank you so much, Derek Boshier. And thank you, people in Beverly Hills, for watching the show today.